Hello and welcome to this new game review. We'll have a look at a game in which White objectively got a very significant advantage, but to use this advantage he had to be ruthless in his attack and he had to not be afraid of sacrificing material. So started as an Alapin. Black allowed d4 but he responded with d5, and here we have a choice of what structure to play. White decided on the advanced French. This is a direct transposition. Otherwise we could also take here. Black can recapture like this or like this, both are possible. It helps tremendously if against the French we also play the advanced variation. This way we just get a position that we're familiar with, so if that's the case, that's great. So now Black continues developing. Queen b6, and White plays a3, which is one of the moves here. The point is to play b4, which would make Black relieve the tension in the center, most likely taking on d4, and then White will have a lot more space on the queen side. Black could play c4, and this is considered the main line. Now Black would usually play against this b3 square. He will castle queenside as it's hard to open the things up, and then probably attack like this. So something similar happens, b4, c4, but now White is able to get this b4 push in. Now it is actually a very important moment. White played bishop e2 after some thought, but at this moment it is quite important to play the move a4. The reason being is that Black here is actually threatening the move a5, after which we would really not want to take because it would ruin our structure and give the opponent access to b3, and also the bishop access to a3, and it would open the rook as well. So against a5 we would like to play b5 because as well, if a5 happens, there is a threat of taking here with the point that we have to recapture like this, and then the a pawn is pinned due to the rook on a1. If we defend like this, then simply this is some tension that does not favor us, and now we will never be able to advance further on the queen side. So a4 was very important to stop a5 because now we have this move b5, and wherever the knight moves we have some very nice space here. The bishop is restricted, the knight is also restricted, and White can continue developing on the king side, while Black will have a hard time breathing. And so bishop e2 instead, and Black does not take the chance to play a5. And now Black again should play a5, but he doesn't. He plays f6. And generally this move is quite risky because Black's king is in the center. He is not fully developed well and he is opening up the position. So this tension kind of favors White. He plays bishop f4, which is nice. Black plays a6. As we know from opening principles, moving around some kind of pawns at the side of the board is not very good, as now Black loses more time. He should of course develop his pieces as fast as possible. But now knight bd2, White is playing very well, developing all of his pieces, and now something will happen in the center. So Black castles queenside, White plays a4, which is very natural. Already here the best move is to take the pawn on c4, which is a very strong move because, well, firstly we get two pawns of course, but most importantly we're gaining access to this king. For example, after this, knight c4 comes with tempo, so we are gaining the initiative as well. Now the queen has to move. For example, if it moves here, after we defend the knight, there is the big threat of a4 winning the queen, and there's actually nothing for Black to do here. So he has to go back. And now we could win back some material like this. We will win a rook here, which would be the best idea, but even other moves such as b5 with the point of going knight d6, opening up everything on the queen side, is extremely dangerous for Black. Even though he has a piece up, his rook and knight are not in the game while we have developed all of our pieces, so it only makes sense that our attack will succeed. So this was the first moment where White could have sacrificed here. This bishop will not really be useful anyway. So a4 is nice. Black plays g5, and here White blunders with bishop g3. Instead, had White moved here, now Black will not be allowed to play f5 because this pawn is simply hanging. due to the bishop being on this diagonal. Otherwise, black has to do something like g4, but here again, of course, we will not just move the attacked knight. We can go knight c4, attacking the queen, d5, opening up the position again, taking the knight. This knight can now go to d2 and c4. White is again close to winning. But bishop g3, and now black could have played the move f5, which would not only start his own attack, as there's a threat of f4 and black is generally gaining a lot of space, but also now this bishop will not be able to get opened up. So g4 happens. Now white finds a nice move, taking on f6, not waiting for black to close the position. Knight takes f6 and knight e5, played quite quickly. Here again, the sacrifices on c4 are quite strong. For example, knight takes c4 and then knight d2 with the point to recapture on c4 with a knight, after which the queen will have to go to a very sad square on a7. And it's hard to suggest anything here for black. Let's say he tries to attack. We'll go here. We will go b5. The game is basically over. Black's queen is going to go to a8, which is funny enough, but of course the priority here is checkmate, which will probably happen as we have all of our pieces directed at this king. This bishop is cutting off all the escape squares. The position is more or less hopeless. But white was not brave enough for this, knight e5, which is natural enough. But now black gets some time to start his own attack, h5, the queen c2, but this is already a bit besides the point. This move doesn't really do anything. White would of course like to do something like this, but unfortunately after this, for example, it's not that clear how we are going to open up the queen side. We could open up the king side to involve our rook in the game, as still at any point black has to watch out for this or for sacrifices. So white should be fine. Or for example b5, a5 also kind of stops the attack. Again, these sacrifices are necessary. But queen c2 is a bit besides the point. Now black gets time to improve his pieces. Rook fb1, but unfortunately white, I think, didn't accept the fact that the b file will not really be opened up. After a5 there's always queen b5, or again queen c6. After b5 there's a5. So the play is not really connected to these pawns. Again, the best move, bishop takes c4. Here the queen at least has the d8 square, but again after something like b5, white's attack is stronger than black's. Also, white does have 2 pawns for the piece, so it's not a piece for nothing. And the game is very dangerous for black's king. But sadly, white plays the kind of normal moves to push these pawns, but we have to understand they're not really going anywhere. And now white gets passive, and slowly black takes the advantage. And here black plays a nice move g3. You don't really have to calculate anything with g3. It's clear that giving up a pawn to open up the position will be beneficial for black. White takes this and also takes on g3, but unfortunately this opens up too many lines. White should have played h3 to keep the lines closed towards his king. Now after, for example, bishop d6, white is fine. For example, we can take the knight. This bishop is kind of trapped, and for example here, black does have quite good compensation for the piece. The position is quite dangerous, but white is okay. And after bishop g3, now white is a pawn up, but as we know, a pawn will only be important in an endgame, and here there will be no endgame, so the material relation is irrelevant. Black is just winning because his attack is a lot stronger than white's. Bishop e5, but this gives up a bishop due to the pin, but already the position was quite scary, as black has numerous ways to attack and easy threats, while white's rooks are on the queen side doing nothing. And now the game is just over, because black is a bishop up. So all the while we could have always sacrificed on c4 to get our attack going. And in general, in chess, the point is checkmate. We have to not forget this. So if we sacrifice a piece, we shouldn't worry, because the next game you play, you will get the pieces back.